Hello everyone, welcome to the daily news analysis of Next IAS. This is Varun. Today we will discuss 5 important articles from 2 newspapers, The Hindu and Indian Express. The first 4 articles will be regarding our explained section which is related to prelims. First article is regarding Arctic, then IMD Forecast. After that we will discuss about Forest Right Act and then further about Parker Solar Probe. For our mains analysis we will focus on National Education Policy 2020. So let us start our discussion for the first article regarding Arctic. So the first article is regarding Arctic. This article has come on the backdrop of tensions are high in the Arctic. So the relevance of this article is particularly in the prelims examination for World's Physical Geography paper. We can see here itself the screenshot of this article is from the Hindu newspaper which has come into text and context section. This article has a lot of information. Let us try to understand what it is saying about. So the basic background of this news is that US is trying to acquire or create a perception that Greenland should be come to the under the jurisdiction of US rather Denmark. And there is also some dispute between Canada and US over status of Northwest Passage. Northwest Passage is an important strait, so we should also focus on this area from the perspective of prelims, especially mapping section. Then strategic importance of Greenland, Iceland, UK, that is known as UK gap. This gap is very important. We should cover it from the perspective of places in news. These all things we will further see in further slides. So let us try to understand about what is Arctic. So here from the slide we can see that the location of Arctic is in northernmost part of Earth, specifically the North Pole. So it is just covering the region under 30 degree of North Pole. So there is a circle which is known as Arctic Circle. So the region between Arctic Circle till 0 degree, that is North Pole, it is known as, under this we have our Arctic region. It has substantial amount of natural resources. Right now it is covered under ice, but over the period of time due to climate change ice is melting, and that's why there is a probability that huge amount of vast natural resources are covered beside it. Like as per Geological Survey of US, there is a report which says that region holds 13% of the world's undiscovered oil reserves and 30% of its untapped natural gas reserve. Currently it is inaccessible due to the ice barrier which we are discussing. After that we are also going to discuss Northeast Passage. So what is Northeast Passage? This reduces the maritime distance between East Asia. So if there is a world map, so this is East Asia, like Japan, China, everything is there here. China is here, Japan is here, you can see, and between East Asia and Europe, and here will be Europe, and this is Russia completely, and here it will be Europe. So this passage, Northeast Passage, will reduce the time between them by approximately 8,000 kilometers. So that is why it is very important for us to understand about this passage. Then what is the legal status of Arctic? So Arctic lacks strong legal backing. For example, for Antarctica there is Antarctica Treaty, whereas for Arctic there is no treaty right now which protects or which provides any legal backing to particular region. Similarly, about the governance, so the governance of Arctic region is basically backed by UNCLOS, that is UN Convention on the Law of Sea. So this convention helps to manage the resources which is there, and this is still not have particular legal backing like Antarctica Treaty. So a lot of dispute is going to be or bound to be happen. Now this is the map of the Arctic region. We can see here North Pole is here, then Arctic region is here. We should particularly read this map very specifically for prelims examination. East Siberian Sea is again here, Laptev Sea is there, Kara Sea is there, and then Barents Sea is there, and we can see that Barents, after Barents Sea we have here Norwegian Sea, then Greenland Sea. Here Greenland is itself here, and this is currently under Denmark. Beside it, Hudson Bay is important area, Beaufort Sea is again important, Chukchi Sea is again important, and one should read this also from the perspective that in which direction these seas are. So east to west, we should always prepare east to west or west to east also. This even can be asked in examination itself. So these are the important areas. Beside Russia, we can see here Russia is directly touching, Russia is touching, United States is here touching, especially in Alaska region. From Alaska region, United States is touching. Similarly, Greenland is there, Norway is another important part, Finland, Sweden. So these are important regions which come under the closeness to the Arctic Sea, and that's why these regions claim over the resources of this region. Now let us try to understand. There is another important body which is known as Arctic Council, which is related to Arctic. So it is an international body which focuses mainly on environmental protection, scientific research and indigenous rights. Three important things are being focused. It was formally established in 1996 through the Ottawa Declaration. So question can itself be asked, Ottawa Declaration is related to which? So you can say formation of Arctic Council. There are 8 member countries in Arctic Council: Canada, Denmark including Greenland, Finland, Iceland, Norway, Russia, Sweden and US. So this itself again can be asked, which of the following are the member of Arctic Council? It cannot implement or enforce its guidelines, so it is not legally bound. Assessments or recommendation, it is done by individual Arctic states or international bodies. Beside it, its mandate does not include military security. So if any member of the Arctic Council or if any country uses military force, so there is no Arctic Council's mandate that it will protect against it. Then further, member nations have sovereignty over Arctic land and can exploit resources within their EEZ. So even UNCLOS says this, so that's why member countries can exploit the resources. Waters between these territories are under international jurisdiction, allowing freedom of navigation. So freedom of navigation is there. It is just like another ocean or sea, but here the temperature is so much low that ice is being formed, so there is not access to open navigation through normal ships. Under UNCLOS, nations can extend seabed claims beyond 200 nautical miles in their EEZ if they prove it as a natural extension of the continental shelf. This important word is continental shelf. So if it is part of their continental shelf, even beyond 200 nautical miles, they can claim it as part of their EEZ. That's what UNCLOS says. So that's why Canada, Denmark and Russia particularly have overlapping claims regarding this EEZ in this Arctic Ocean. Russia is the only Arctic Council member with a significant icebreaker fleet. So for navigating through this area, icebreaker fleet is required, and Russia has especially them, and they are powered through nuclear power, especially nuclear power, and that gives advantage to Russia over others. Then let us try to understand what this region has importance for India. So India's Arctic policy, which we called as India and the Arctic by Ministry of Earth and Sciences. Ministry of Earth and Sciences basically focus on this region for India. They have missions and they have also sent some people for expeditions through collaboration for building a partnership for sustainable development. India has observer status. Okay, always remember, it is not member of 8 councils, but it has observer in the Arctic Council. This itself can be framed as a statement in prelims examination. Let us try to understand some expedition history in Arctic. So in 2007, Russia has sent their MIR-1 submarine to the North Pole to plant a Russian flag on the seabed beneath the Arctic ice cap. So it was Russia first which has this submarine, and they were able to send it for the expedition in Arctic Ocean. Beside it, China also has gained significant role in this region. China is also playing a very important role, and they know the potential of resources in this region. That's why in 2018 they declared themselves near Arctic state. This does not have any international backing, but despite that, China has done this, and it is also planning to construct its first nuclear powered icebreaker, just like Russia has already. So this will provide China we will say a leverage to focus more or to exploit the resources of Arctic. That's why there is going to be race for Arctic resources also in the future. That's what article wants to convey the message. Now let us try through a practice question understand which type of question can be asked on this particular topic. So according to UNCLOS, member nations of Arctic Council can extend their claims to the seabed beyond the 200 nautical mile exclusive EEZ in the Arctic if they can prove. So this is our humble request. Mark your answer in the comment section. Your PS will review. Another article regarding US tariffs. This article says that fresh US tariffs threat looms over purchase of Russian oil. This has been covered in Indian Express newspaper, and we have already covered US tariffs very detailed manner on 15 Feb 2025 in one of our episode of DNA. So kindly watch it and you will understand the nuance. Our next article is regarding IMD Forecast. So this article has come into the Hindu and Indian Express both newspaper. In the backdrop, summer set to be warmer, but El Nino unlikely during next monsoon. IMD has said this. So this article is very important again for our prelims examination, especially in the geography section where monsoon related things are being asked. So let us try to understand what the news is. So first, the IMD has said that they have ruled out that this year El Nino will not be there. So it is a good news for India, because when El Nino happens, the amount of rain reduces. So this article is also saying about this. Like IMD has ruled out the possibility of El Nino. Then the article is also saying that in 2023 it was El Nino. So that's why there was a 6% deficit. That's why it was because El Nino influences Indian monsoon season in a negative manner. In 2024, it was a neutral condition. Neutral condition means there was no El Nino, neither there was La Nina. So neither La Nina nor El Nino. So that's why India witnessed 8% above average or surplus rainfall in 2024, especially in summer months. Then we can also see that the article says about climate forecast. We can rule out El Nino for the monsoon. We will mostly likely see neutral El Nino condition. But there are also some regional factors has been taken, and this factor also plays important role in the forecast of monsoon. Beside it, about heat wave days also, the article says that it defined as temperature exceeding 45 degrees Celsius. First of all, we have to understand what heat wave itself. So if the temperature is 45 degrees Celsius or greater than 5 degrees Celsius rise from what's normal in the region. For example, if it is plain region and temperature is more than 5 degrees Celsius, what is normal for that particular region, then still it is considered as heat waves. After that, let us try to understand some facts about El Nino. So what El Nino is? So in the diagram here and map, we can see what in normal condition what happens, especially in this Pacific Ocean region. In South Pacific, what happens? The warm water from this South America goes towards Australia. This is the normal curve. This is the normal way in which things go on in the Pacific Ocean. But during El Nino year, what happens? The coastal areas of South America, especially West South America, they get heated. And that's why it reverses the normal trend and water starts flowing from this our east region to west region. It starts flowing from west to east. This happens, and normally it is from eastern side to western side in normal time. This is particularly regarding to various factors plays role in. We will see what are those factors, but this is what you have to understand what happens in El Nino. So here in eastern South Pacific region, water gets warm up, and due to that the flow reverses. So warming of Pacific Ocean happens during El Nino. Climate change also impacts El Nino. Then climate pattern changes due to this warming of Pacific Ocean. Climate pattern changes, and this is known as ENSO phase. Okay, this particular cycle is known as ENSO phase, and we have to understand that ENSO covers two things: El Nino and La Nina both. El Nino is warm phase, whereas La Nina is cold phase. Then it has particular impact on India. We will see in further slides. Global weather disrupts. So what happens? For example, during El Nino, the area and region nearer to Indian Ocean, they receive less rainfall, whereas the areas like Indonesia and especially Peru, Chile, they receive more rainfall. Okay, that is the general impact. Irregular occurrences of El Nino is there. So it is generally, they say that it occurs from in the period of 5 to 6 years, but over the period of time the occurrence is not specifically regular, it varies also. It is one of the strongest events has also happened over the period of time which impacted monsoon, Indian monsoon especially. So let us try to understand Indian monsoon and El Nino. In general, during El Nino event, what happens? India's summer monsoon is weaker than normal. So we have to particularly understand that it impacts southwest monsoon mostly. Summer monsoon is southwest monsoon. So we have to understand this also. Since 1950, there have been 16 El Nino years, out of which 7 years had impacted Indian monsoon rainfall when rainfall was below normal. So out of 16, 7 years particularly El Nino conditions impacted the amount of rainfall and it becomes below normal. There is a stronger inverse relation between El Nino rainfall during the latter half of the monsoon season. So it particularly impact the monsoon in latter half, not starting of the monsoon period but latter half. Let us try to understand Indian monsoon overview. So this map shows summer and winter. So this is southwest monsoon and this is northeast. Southwest, it is going from this to this direction. We all are aware this happens during mostly end of April to our September. This happens, and this happens mostly after October. So these two are important maps for India regarding monsoon. Southwest monsoon, almost 75 to 80% of annual rainfall occurs during this period. And monsoon is basically what? It is just differential heating of land and sea. So sometimes it is a sea or land breeze on a larger scale, which creates low pressure zone over India, pulling moisture laden wind. But monsoon is also impacted by ITC-Z shifting. So we should also be aware about how ITC-Z changes. So differential modeling system of monsoon, one should read about that. That is very important also for prelims examination. Monsoon is vital for agriculture, affects nearly 50% of India's farmland, especially because many areas of still India is unirrigated areas, so they are dependent on monsoon. Now let us try to specifically understand how El Nino affects Indian monsoon. So in normal phase, what happens? There is no El Nino, so regular monsoon rainfall will be over the long period of average 880 mm, that is 88 centimeter. Earlier it was 90 centimeter, but IMD has recently in last 2 years said that it has become 88 centimeter for long period average. During El Nino year, weak monsoon will be there, delayed onset. So onset will be delayed. There will be some droughts also in some specific region, not throughout the country. But if the El Nino is very strong, what will happen? Major monsoon failure will be throughout the country and severe drops, crop losses are also being observed. So this is the impact of El Nino on Indian subcontinent. Let us try to understand the mechanism behind El Nino. So what happens? Trade winds, like these are the trade winds which is flowing on. This diagram shows these are the trade winds. These weakens during El Nino phase. These trade winds weaken due to the change in differential. Here you can see the warm water is here. So warm water is here, trade winds become, because moist air is not pushed towards India due to the weakening of trade wind. So for example, earlier these trade winds were able to push a lot of water. In this diagram we can again see that here normally trade winds are pushing water in this direction, warm water. Now due to change in the temperature differential, as this area is much heated, trade winds shift in this direction, and that's why instead of going this warm water, the warm water shifted here, and that's why there is less moisture. And when there is less moisture in the Indian Ocean, there will be less amount of water being carried by Indian monsoon, and there will be less chances that rainfall will be normal. So that's why, that's what the mechanism is. Shifting of Walker circulation. So this complete cycle is known as Walker circulation. This itself can be asked, what is Walker circulation? One should know. Causes descending dry air over India. So this Walker circulation especially is responsible for the carrying of warm water, warm moisture from Pacific Ocean to Indian Ocean. Then there is formation of high pressure system, which reduces when there is very high pressure system over India. Instead of low pressure, during summer months, what happens? The temperature increases and pressure decreases. It becomes low pressure system. But because the warm air or warm water is not coming, rather cold water is in the Indian Ocean region, so that will create high pressure system and which reduce cloud formation leading to less rainfall. This is the mechanism one should understood from the perspective of El Nino. Then about La Nina, let us try to understand how La Nina is working. La Nina is just opposite of El Nino. It is cold phase of our normal condition in South Pacific Ocean region. So here we can see that earlier also in normal condition the water was flowing from east to west. Trade winds were very strong. But what happens due to more heating in this region? Due to much more heating in this region, what happens? Trade winds become strengthened. They get strength, much more strength. And from the definition itself, we can see that La Nina is a climate phenomenon characterized by notably cooler sea surface temperature in the central and eastern Pacific Ocean. Rather, earlier it was hot during El Nino phase. Can significantly impact the Indian monsoon. In general, during a La Nina event, normal to above normal rainfall is received over India during the southwest monsoon. Why? Again, because now here it is warm, more moisture can be carried by the trade winds, and those moisture will be carried by southwest monsoon, and that will impact more rainfall on the Indian subcontinent. Also, below normal temperatures are generally observed during the winter season. Again, why below normal temperature? Because it is cold phase, so that it will also reduce the temperature during winter. Let us try to understand some difference between El Nino and La Nina. So trade winds are stronger, pushing warm water westwards, weaker or reverse, keeping warm water eastward. Sea surface temperature, these are the criteria. So this is very good table. This will help you to understand on which criteria what is the difference. So sea surface temperature lower than usual, here higher than usual, where specifically central and eastern Pacific. Okay, rainfall in India, how it happens? So what happens? Enhanced monsoon in La Nina phase, and this is weakened monsoon. Cyclone patterns, cyclones are also related to this, has been observed over the period of time that various cyclonic activities are also happening due to these two phases. So more cyclones in Bay of Bengal, in which phase? La Nina phase, and in El Nino phase it will be more cyclones in Arabian Sea. Then what is the impact on global climate? Tends to cool global temperature, contributes to warmer global temperatures, often linked to heat waves. Heat waves will be during El Nino phase. So this table you should prepare especially for prelims examination also and mains examination also. Let us try to understand this topic from the perspective of examination, that which type of question can be asked. So La Nina is suspected to have caused recent floods in Australia. How is La Nina different from El Nino? So there is first statement is La Nina is characterized by unusually cold ocean temperature in the equatorial Indian Ocean, whereas El Nino is characterized by unusually warm ocean temperature in the equatorial Pacific Ocean. El Nino has adverse effect on the southwest monsoon of India, but La Nina has no effect on the monsoon climate. So this is our humble request. Kindly mark your answer of this question in our comment section. Your peers will review. There is another article on Waqf bill. This article has come into the newspaper. Opposition fueling fear over Waqf bill, says Riju. So this article is very important from prelims as well as mains examination because of the controversy and various things going regarding Waqf bill. So read it, and we have already covered on 25th March 2025 in one of the episode of DNA. So kindly watch it and understand it. Our next topic is regarding Forest Right Act. So the backdrop of this article is Forest Right Act was challenged in Supreme Court in 2008 by NGO Wildlife First, which called for eviction of people whose Forest Right Acts or claims had been rejected. And this has been posted by Supreme Court on 2nd April. In this context, this article has came. So this is important for our examination, especially in polity and environment section of prelims examination. Now let us try to understand some facts about Forest Right Act. So it provides recognition of forest rights. The complete name of this act is Scheduled Tribes and Other Traditional Forest Dwellers Act 2006, which in short called as FRA or Forest Right Act 2006. It recognizes three types of rights: individual, community and community forest resource rights. Three types of rights are being recognized. Community resource rights mainly managed by here Gram Sabhas. So that's what we have to understand, that community resource will be claimed by Gram Sabha. So Gram Sabha has authority over it. It was enacted in 2006 by Parliament, and what was the aim of it? To undo the historic injustice done to scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers in the country. So what happened over the period of time, as forest was during British period, earlier our traditional forest dwellers were living in the forest, also various tribes were living in harmony with the forest. But when Britishers came, they tried to legalize everything and they started evicting, because they were exploiting a lot of forest resources for production of timber, wood, etc. But over the period of time when the Britishers left, these rights were not given, and when the government started providing legal status to protected areas and everything, these people have conflict with the government regulation for even state department, state revenue departments, which looks after this forest. So that's why it is needed that they should be provided, those who have living for a very long time, they should be protected and they can enjoy their rights, they can live in harmony as they were living in the forest itself for over the period of years. It also provides land titles for habitation and self cultivation. Then there is clear demarcation of land, so these things will help formalize. Otherwise what will happen, those many other peoples who will migrate to these forests and they will start claiming that they need those land, or those land belong to this. So this will create a confusion. That's why this act was a very good move in the right direction. Now there are some provisions of this act. Let us try to understand. It provides recognition of rights by providing grants individual and community right to forest dwellers, including ownership, usage and management of forest resources. Besides it, it also recognizes rights of scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers. It provides majorly three major rights: individual, community and community forest resource rights. Under individual, rights of self-cultivation and habitation both are provided. Then individual or communities must have primarily resided in forest or forest land for at least 3 generations, that is 75 years prior to December 13, 2005. That was the cutoff date, and this is the condition to provide these rights. Let us also try to understand about community forest right. So it provides habitat rights for particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Beside it, community forest resource rights, traditional seasonal resource, right to intellectual property and traditional knowledge has also been included under these act and these rights. Right to minor forest produce is also legalized, that collection and sale of items can be done by tribal people as well as traditional dwellers, so that will help them to make their livelihood, make their economic living. Let us try to understand some of other provisions of the acts. Acts are constituted FRCs, that is forest rights committees, are being constituted by Gram Sabha to receive and verify the claim, prepare the maps and record the findings. So it is up to Gram Sabha, they will be the authority to check whether the claims are right or wrong. Only forest right committees and Gram Sabha can receive, reject or modify any claim at block, panchayat or range level. So these are the levels at which it will be done. Procedure for addressing the claims and their resection involves 3-tier system. First is Gram Sabha. So first tier is Gram Sabha, they will check. After that, if there is SG, so the people can further go and say that Gram Sabha has not done properly. So there is mechanism for grievance redressal. It can be done at subdivision level committee, and then there is district level committee also to verify and check. There are some other things also regarding these guidelines. The claimant can appeal against the decision of these statutory bodies also, and it does not allow satellite imagery as evidence to reject claims. For example, if there is satellite imagery which showing that someone has not lived, because earlier the satellite imagery was not that good, so that's why it is not being taken into consideration. FRA does not permit land use change. For example, even it is providing land titles, but it is not saying that you can, if it is agricultural land, you have to maintain it as an agricultural land. You cannot change the land use like making buildings or resorts or something like that. It also takes into consideration of national parks and sanctuaries. Beside it, allocation of forest land for developmental purposes to fulfill basic infrastructural needs can be done also here. Then it is in conjunction with LAR Act. LAR Act means Right to Fair Compensation and Transparency in Land Acquisition, Rehabilitation and Settlement Act. These two are in coherence, and this FRA Act is especially in coherence with LAR Act also. Forest land title holder is considered as land owner. So if title is being provided to particular group or particular individual or community, so they will be considered as landowner under this. There are some issues with the act, like there is data, even the article itself has given these data, like only 20.6 lakh hectare or 2.9% of the 715 lakh hectare forest lands were titled for pre-2005 habitation. So it is only 2.9. Beside it, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has a lead role in preparing guidelines for this, whereas it should be related to tribal ministry of tribal affairs, whereas Ministry of Environment is engaged in this activity. That's what a issue being projected by various activists, various NGO which are working in various regions. Then NCST working group found that even under the old rules, FRA compliance was in trouble. Then there are various data also showing that total of 14.46 lakh claims has been made for titles over Forest Right Act, out of which only 22.35 lakh has been issued, that is around 50%. So it is still, there are a lot of rejection. And there is again a data regarding 42.76 lakh individual claim over forest land under FRA has come. This rights has been issued just to 21.33. So it is on an average only 50% claims are being given. There are some other initiatives related to this Forest Right Act. Let us try to understand. Pradhan Mantri Jan Jati Unnat Gram Abhiyan. So in budget 2024 to 25, this has been announced, and its name was further changed to Dharti Abha Janjatiya Gram Utkarsh Abhiyan. The basic aim of this is to provide socio-economic condition of tribal communities to be uplifted. Ministry of Tribal Affairs is nodal agency for this, and over the period of 5 years, how things will improve. It will focus on household and community level infrastructure, health and nutrition, then education and training. Further electrifications will also be provided in the form of infrastructure, then economic empowerment through various initiatives like FRA cell will be created, then community forest right claim will be provided, and further connectivity especially both mobile network connectivity and road connectivity both will be provided. There is another initiative like Pradhan Mantri Janjati Adivasi Nyay Maha Abhiyan. So this has also launched in 2023, and this again focus on improvement of socio-economic conditions. We can see here especially regarding to PVTGs, that is particularly vulnerable tribal groups, and it again the nodal agency or nodal ministry is Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So these are the factual information one should always keep in their mind regarding when they are reading from the prelims examination perspective. Let us try to understand this through a practice question. Consider the following statement. As per recent amendment to Indian Forest Act 1927, forest dwellers have the right to fell the bamboos grown on forest areas. As per the scheduled tribe and other traditional forest dwellers, recognition of Forest Right Act 2006, bamboo is a minor forest produce. Third statement is the scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers recognition of Forest Right Act 2006 allows ownership of minor forest produce to forest dweller. So this is our humble request. Kindly mark your answer in our comment section. Your PS will review. There is another article regarding offshore mining, and this article says that Rahul urges Modi to cancel tenders for offshore mining. This article is in both the Hindu newspaper and Indian Express. Try to understand what is offshore mining. We have already covered this on 11 Jan 2025 about offshore mining, its provisions, various nuances regarding it. Try to understand, and it will help you to have a grasp on this topic. There is another article which has come in yesterday's newspaper. It was very important about Parker Solar Probe. This article says that on March 22, the probe made another attempt to get within 6 million kilometers of the sun. Consider a very small distance to be from the star. Under this article has come into the newspaper. The relevance of this article is for prelims examination, it's especially general science awareness in the field of space. So what is the news is about? Here let us try to, through the diagram, try to understand some of the important things in the structure of our solar system and especially sun. So there are some terms like corona is there, then coronal hole is there, prominence is there, chromosphere, flare, sun spots. Sun spots occurs on the outer surface of the sun. photosphere is there, subsurface flow. Internal structure basically comprises three: core, radiative zone and convective zone. Convective zone is outside, like this is core, then it is radiative zone where radiation occurs, where the energy flow through radiation, and then there is convection zone. The convection zone is where this convection currents flow and that help to transmit the various heats from the sun to other surfaces. So let us try to understand what this article says. It says that NASA has particularly launched this Parker solar probe and it has arrived within 6.1 million kilometer, that is very nearer to the sun. Let us try to understand some of the fact about sun. Sun core produces energy using nuclear fusion. It is fusion. Hydrogen isotopes combine and produces helium and energy. That is what fusion is. It is different from fission, in which the uranium atoms get splitted. So it is opposite of fission. Numerous electrons, protons and heavy nuclei are spit out of the solar corona. What is solar corona? It is uppermost layer of sun's atmosphere. Here we can see this in the diagram itself. Solar corona is uppermost layer and its temperature is different than inside. There is a term like solar flare. Here in diagram also it is there. It means intense burst of radiation coming from the release of magnetic energy associated with sunspots. So there are sunspots. So in sunspots what happens? Huge or very intense burst of radiation happens. So that's why these energies are being released in the form of magnetic energy, and that are known as our solar flare. This is very important. These terms are, one should remember, these terms can directly be asked in the examination. Similarly, a term is coronal mass ejection. So what happens? This ejection happens in plasma form. In the plasma state, these ejections happen. An ejection of plasma mass from corona into the helisphere, they are often associated with solar flares and other forms of solar activity. So basically coronal mass ejections happens mostly during solar flares. This help us to understand these coronal mass ejections, solar flares. These help us to understand that up to which distance one can reach within the periphery or within the influence of sun. Let us try to understand something about Parker solar probe mission. So Eugene Parker, he was a scientist who predicted existence of solar wind. A stream of charged particles. What is solar wind? A stream of charged particles flowing out from the sun in all directions. So this happens naturally and this happens in all directions. And in 2018, NASA has launched through a Delta IV rocket this from Cape Canaveral in Florida. Their space launch station is there. So from there they have launched this mission. The maximum speed of this will be 692,000 km per hour. It has a composite material shield which is very thick and it is made up of carbon composite material. It can withstand up to 1370 degrees Celsius. So only up to that temperature it can withstand heat. The probe has 4 scientific instruments. One can understand that 4 scientific. It can be asked which of the following are related to instruments related to Parker solar probe. So first is fields, second is ISOIS. ISOIS means integrated science investigation of the sun, wide field imager, solar wind electrons, alphas and protons, and then we can understand what these particular instrument will do. Like field will measure electric and magnetic field, ISOIS will observe energetic particles. Similarly, SWIP will record properties of those materials or those magnetic things coming out, and then WHISPER will take picture as it passes through the corona. Then why sun's surface is only 6000 degrees Celsius or so, whereas the solar corona is 200 times hotter. So this is the anomaly. There is an anomaly between temperature of two, and that is a mystery for scientists also, and they mostly say it happens in the Alfvén waves. This is the particular term, Alfvén waves. You should remember that due to this, scientists are thinking that this anomaly happens between temperature variation. These waves are oscillation of ions in the plasma released by the sun, set in motion by forces in the surrounding magnetic field. So magnetic field sometimes work in a different manner, and it is not still clearly understood why these things happen, and further research is going on, and it is expected that Parker Solar Probe will help in it also. India has also, its space agency ISRO has launched Aditya L1 mission. So it is also important for prelims examination. It is first space-based solar mission to study the sun for India. Its aim is to establish its own solar observatory in space. It was launched in 2023, so it can be asked whether Parker Solar Probe was earlier or our Aditya L1. The launch was in a halo orbit around the Sun Earth Lagrange point. So Lagrange point is just like a point where the, for example, this is sun, this is Earth, and their gravity has some impact, but at Lagrange point what will happen, the gravity will reduce, the gravity impact will be zero. So if we are parking here, so the instrument, the satellite will not require any fuel, it will just be parked there. It will provide an uninterrupted view of the sun for prolonged period also. So some of the payloads of our Aditya L1 mission are remote sensing payload and in situ payloads are there. You should read about this payload like visible emission line chronograph, then SOOT payload is there, then SOLEX, that is low energy X-ray spectrometer, then Helios 1 is there, then aspects, it is regarding in situ payload, Aditya solar wind particle experiment, plasma analyzer is also there, then advanced triaxial high resolution. So these can be asked in the form of a statement that which of the following are related payloads to the Aditya L1 mission. Then let us try to understand through a practice question which type of question can be asked on this particular topic. Consider the following statement about Parker Solar Probe. It was launched on board a Delta IV rocket. Its payloads are Fields, ISOIS, Whisper, and then SOOT. It is a joint initiative of NASA and ESA. So this is our humble request. Kindly mark your answer in our comment section. Your peers will review. Now we will discuss our mains article related to our decoded section. It is about National Education Policy 2020. It has come into the backdrop of NEP 2020 in the classroom from policy to practice. This article has come into the Hindu newspaper in its editorial section. The heading of the editorial is NEP 2020 in the classroom from policy to practice. What is the relevance of this article? So it can be useful for our GS2 paper, mainly in mains examination, social sector initiatives, and development and management of education. It can also be asked in our prelims examination in social sector, similarly in social issues paper in GS2 mains examination. Let us try to understand how earlier some questions has come on this topic. So education is not an injunction, it is an effective and pervasive tool for all-round development of individual and social transformation. Examine the NEP 2020 in the light of above statement. This has come into mains 2020 examination. Similarly, another question, NEP 2020 is in conformity with SDG 4. It intends to restructure and reorient the education system in India. Critically examine the statement. This has also come in mains 2020 examination. Beside it, it is also important for essay topic where education system can be asked. So this knowledge of NEP 2020 can be used to write those essay in a very good and effective manner. Let us try to understand what the article says, and then further we will also discuss about what NEP is and what is issues, challenges, what is way forward. So the foundational literacy and numeracy, that is FLN, NEP 2020 provides for universal acquisition, foundational literacy and numeracy. The NEP tries to make it universal. There are some findings of ASER report, which is Annual Status of Education report. It says that more than 80% of the rural schools surveyed reported having received a directive from government to implement FLN, that is foundational literacy and numeracy. Similarly, 75% of these schools, at least one teacher had received in-person training on FLN. There is a conclusion also from these findings. The article says that rationale for why FLN is important. It appears to have been communicated clearly and on scale. Beside it, there is limited opportunities to identify and discuss these challenges during training workshop. So this article is basically discussing that there are some implementation issues also in NEP 2020, and those practical problems has been discussed and observed. These observations are here mentioned. There is also issue about post-training support system to teachers, which is very important. Those post-training support is very important, which is missing also. There is a gap between these two. Then regular monitoring visits, especially from higher officials, is also not properly happening. So that is also a gap which has been observed in this analysis. Then there are some guidelines and materials, like teachers are often unable to make full of use of it. So what happens, the state government, the central government from time to time releases these guidelines and materials so that the teachers can utilize this and make more effective pedagogical approach as well as better dissemination of knowledge to students, but these are not properly utilized by teachers itself. Then resolving their inherent contradiction, there is a contradiction here between universal FLN and syllabus completion. So what happened, foundation literacy and numeracy takes time to be developed, whereas teachers are in hurry only to complete the syllabus, because at the end of period they will be asked whether the syllabus is completed or not. So there is contradiction, and this contradiction is still not resolved by NEP 2020. Now let us try to understand how this NEP 2020 has evolved over the period of time. So before NEP 2020, there were some other policies, like first national education policy was in 1968 and it was based on Kothari Commission. So Kothari Commission has given some recommendation, and on basis of it NEP 1968 was formulated. Then second national education policy came into 1986. It was over the period of time government at that time tried to reform and bring some contemporary changes, and that's why NEP 1986 came. Then after some time during 1990s and 2000, national curriculum framework also came, which provided base to the policy of education system in India. After that, specifically formation of NEP 2020 started in 2015, when the new government has given MHRD, that is Ministry of Education, at that point of time it was known as MHRD, was given mandate that they should come up with a new policy. Then in May 2016, there was a committee formed, TSR Subramaniam Committee, and it submitted its report with various recommendations which can be used for feedback or which can be used as fodder for new education policy. Then in 2017, another panel was formed under Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan. He is former chairperson of ISRO and he is a very knowledgeable person. So under his chairmanship, there was a committee formed and which again submitted their recommendation regarding new education policy. These all were included and a draft NEP was released and which was put to public feedback in 2019. In 2020, Union Cabinet approved finally NEP 2020. Then over the period of time, it was implemented. Now let us try to understand. In 2021, there was provision of academic bank of credit was launched, especially for higher education. So it will store all the credits one will acquire through the period of learning through their graduation. Then in 2022, what happened? MEES, that is multiple entry exit system, was launched. For example, if someone wants to complete 1 year of their graduation, they will give entry and then there will be easy exit after they are wanting to some vocational education or some other type of thing they can do or some internship, again they will be given entry. So there is multiple entry, multiple exit system has been provided in our graduation system. Then in 2023, there has another provision being implemented. 4-year undergraduate program has been finalized and NCF has been introduced also, that is National Curriculum Framework. In 2024, there has been launch of National Digital University, that is NDU, and there is CUT has been expanded. CUT means Common Undergraduate Exam. It is happening all over the India for undergraduate admissions. So this also provide uniformity. This also create level playing field. So these are some of the reforms which has been implemented over the period of time. Now let us try to understand some of the important features, aims, objectives of NEP 2020. So aim was to transform India's education system by introducing a holistic, flexible and multidisciplinary approach. So it was not only just a tweaking of old NEPs, it was rather a holistic overhaul. Like it was focusing on flexibility also, it was also focusing too much on multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary means, for example, arts students should also have knowledge or basic understanding about some science provision like biology, etc. Similarly, if STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, mathematics, these students should also have understanding and make it STEAM, that is science, technology, engineering, arts and mathematics. So from STEM to STEAM, because right now like there is various coding algorithms is being made by engineers, and if they don't have understanding of human psychology, the codes, may be a chance that they will not understand humans properly and they can over the period of time start working against the humans. So these all things are being taken consideration, and that's why multidisciplinary approach has been provided for new education. Then it also focuses on early childhood education. Early childhood education is very important because it laid the foundation of the child, that how they can further in the future learn various skills, various knowledge system, knowledge bases. Besides this, skill development, digital learning and higher education reforms are also being proposed through this. Then it also emphasizes on universal access to education, reducing dropout. Was earlier very high in India. Over the period of time it is reducing, but it wants completely to eliminate it. Then integrate vocational education. Vocational education and training, specifically in India, in its education system is being seen as a very different thing. It is not that much given credit, it is that much not praised. Mostly it is think that only those students have been, this is stereotyped, those students who are not working good in academic, they should go for vocational. But NEP says that it should be integrated with main course, main curriculum. Similarly, it also focuses on outcomes, learning outcomes, rather only output. Earlier what happened, it started with only input was focused, like how many number of classes are being formed, then output, that how many numbers of students are enrolled. Now enrollment, class completion is not, the syllabus completion is not the target, whether students are especially learning in the classes or not, that is the focus, that is the learning outcomes. Then it promotes multilingualism, teacher training reforms and establishment of a new regulatory framework for education. Beside it, it also focuses on school education system, in which form it has a structure of 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 instead of 10 plus 2 model which was earlier. Then it also focuses on Anganwadi and preschools. It focuses on experiential learning, that is learning by doing. Then it also focuses on multilingual education, especially in early ages, because mother tongue is very effective if the child learns the education system in early childhood in form of multi, rather going for a alien language, they are doing it in mother tongue. Similarly, coding, computational thinking, AI and vocational training from an early age. Beside it, it also wants to make board exam easier. There is no rigid separation between science, arts and technology. That's why to make it multidisciplinary, which we have already discussed. Beside it, it also focuses on higher education reform like multidisciplinary education system. Then there is multiple entry and exit system. Beside it, 1 year certification, 2 year diploma, 3 to 4 year degree options is also there. Then there is academic banks of credit, which already has been launched and implemented. Then focus on research, innovation and skill development. Skill is too much important for modern society, modern industry. Then there is MERUs, that is multidisciplinary education and research university. So this MERUs basically will focus on research, not only on providing knowledge at higher education level, but they will focus on research and development, which is lacking in Indian society. Then phasing out of MPhil program, rather for doctorate it will directly either from NET or from some other provisions. Then some other important features, like it also focus on teacher training aspect. Its third pillar, like new national professional standards for teacher, that is NPST is also there. Then 4 year integrated BTech degree, BEd degree will be provided to be the minimum qualification for teachers by 2030. Then continuous teacher training through digital platforms will also be provided. After that, there are some key features of NEP also, like technology and digital education is being focused. How? Establishment of NETF, that is National Educational Technology Forum. It will also promote e-learning, AI driven education and digital classroom. These are smart classrooms which will further help the teacher to utilize various pedagogic methods which are much more easier and beneficial as well as interactive for the students. Then there is focus on digital infrastructure for school education, that is Diksha, Diksha portal is there, which will help teachers to train themselves, learn themselves. It will also provide material training from time to time. Then it also focuses on vocational and skill education, introduction of internship and skill training from grade 6 onward. So what will happen? The moment the student crosses grade 6, they will also be focused to provide some internship so that they can feel the experiential learning by doing. Also, it focuses on modern aspects like the development happening in ICT technology, the development happening in Industry 4.0 like coding, AI and robotics in school curricula, so that a student will be prepared for future generation, future technologies, future further R&Ds which is required for Indian society and Indian economy. Then it also focuses on governance and regulatory changes, because sometimes red tapeism is also being a problem which is creating hindrance in education reform. So it forms Higher Education Commission of India instead of UGC. It proposes. Then it also says that there should be more focus on autonomy for colleges and universities in India, so that they can decide some curriculum, they can design the programs which they will provide, and this will further help the student to explore more boundaries. Then there is also National Assessment Center, that is PARAK, and this will create a minimum benchmark for colleges that they should have these minimum criteria. Unless and until these criteria are not there, they will not be given certification or they will not be recognized by government or UGC or the commission which has been proposed like HECI. Then some of the key goals which NEP 2020 sets for itself, like 100% gross enrollment ratio in school, 100%. It also wants to achieve 50% gross enrollment ratio in higher education. Right now the higher education is only 26 to 27%. So it wants to make it to reach till 50% by 2035. Then it also focuses on universality of early childhood education by 2030. Beside it, all teachers to have a minimum BEd degree by 2030. Beside it, also tries to have digital learning and AI powered classrooms in all schools. Now let us try to understand what was the need or importance of this NEP was. So first is, it is focusing on student centered learning. Current requirement is students should be the priority, they should be at the center of learning. Then future ready skills, because the world is changing very rapidly, new form of technologies, new form of inventions are coming which is required for our society, so students should be prepared for that. Then enhance education quality by curriculum design, teacher training and assessment method. These things will play together and provide much better teacher training, much better curriculum. Then equal learning opportunities should also be provided. How? By inclusive education. Like there is also provision regarding socially backward classes also. So that will help to create a level playing field and reduce inequality. Then comprehensive growth by integrating academics, not only sports but beyond sports like arts, sports. These are also emerging arena where there are a lot of opportunities where students need to focus also on to go beyond the old conventional education system. Then practical learning approach, that is learning by doing, all is being provided here. Now it is also focusing on technology driven methods of learning, and technology sometimes provides much better pedagogical methods, much better pedagogical supports to enhance teaching, learning and accessibility. Similarly, flexible learning paths, like for example, if some student has curiosity or interest in particular subject, it can be tweaked to particular student also. Then teacher development and support by focusing on teacher training, professional growth and innovative teaching methods. Then there are some challenges also which is regarding NEP, like insufficient infrastructure and resources, especially regarding schools, digital facilities, educational resources, especially in rural areas. And then teacher training and development is also not catching up as it was expected because of the change in technology, use of digital learning. Still we need more focus on teacher training. Implementation hurdles. So for example, many states and state governments are not that much proactive or not enthusiastic to implement the provisions of NEP. Then there is technology access disparity also, especially in rural areas, especially with weaker section, women, there is gender divide also. After that, funding limitations is also there. And then assessment and evaluation. Assessment and evaluation should move away from rote learning, that is only examinations should not be based on rote learning, rather skill based assessment. Then it also should focus on vocational education integration beside it medium of instruction concern. It happens from time to time, many a time regional languages implementation has been asked that it should be prioritized. Then resistance to educational reforms happens whenever there is a reform proposed, either in any sector there is resistance from some vested interest, so that is also there. There is also problem in ensuring accountability and progress tracking of both students and teachers. Both is there. There is a gap to track over the period of time. So these all challenges should be focused, and the way forward should be enhance educational infrastructure, especially well equipped schools. Digital access should be focused. Beside it, teachers training should be much more better by providing, like Diksha portal is already there, so through it continuous learning should be there. Some credit mechanism is also should be evolved over the period of time. After that, effective policy execution by collaboration between central and state government. So education is a concurrent subject, so always it is duty of both center and state to sit together and frame policies in a coordinated manner, so that students should get always focused. Reducing the digital gap by providing internet access, digital learning devices, smart classroom, like Swayam portal is there. Beside it, BharatNet is for internet access in rural areas, so these will help further. Then there is regarding ensuring financial sustainability. So over the period of time, some form of grant should be given also from the government to various schools, and from time to time it should be increased with the inflation. Then there is revamping assessment system should be there. How complete assessment system, which is basically focusing on rote learning, it should also be revamped. Then seamless integration of vocational education should be made there. After that, overcoming language barrier. Language barrier means mother tongue should be prioritized. Even use of AI, use of LLMs, that is language models, so that the content which is not available in regional or local language, it should be tweaked and provided to the student for further learning. Beside it, shifting traditional mindset only to conventional learning, it also shift to like vocational training, sports, arts, and then strengthening oversight and accountability for better outcomes. Accountability should be created at each level, that this outcome is being expected at this level. From what is the role of teachers, what is their accountability, what is the role of school, what is the role of society, this should be there. So let us try to understand through a practice question which type of question can be asked. Education transcends being a mere obligation. It is a powerful tool that drives personal development and societal transformation. This is a statement. In the context of this statement, critically examine NEP 2020 discusses its potential to foster holistic development and bring about social change in India. So in introduction, we can mention about the findings of ASCR report, and then in body, first we can, because the keyword is critically examine, so our main goal to critically analyze this, to find the negatives of this or challenges. So first in body we should find the challenges of NEP, and then after that what is its potential, and in because it is 15 marker to 50 words, so we should also provide a way forward for this. In fact, in conclusion, we can relate it with the SDG goal 4 with, and also in introduction we can mention about the status of India being able to reach where. So this is the complete analysis of this particular article. This is our humble request. If you like our video, kindly watch it, like it, share it, subscribe it, and comment on it. Thank you.